Yeah. I just figure we won't stand on or on a kind of like, whatever tradition, because I scheduled the stream for noon thinking Steve's time and not like noon I scheduled it noon my time instead of noon Steve's time. Sorry. I'll figure this out eventually.
Time
Hi,
zones are hard.
I know. Hi, everybody. It's Ron from Ron's Computer Videos, or this week, Ron's VCF videos, specifically VCF Midwest videos. And I'm joined by two lovely people who took time out of their morning to talk to me. Eric.
Hi. This
Hi.
is Eric from Eric's Edge.
Hi, Eric from Eric's Edge.
That's Ron.
It is. Who's this guy?
I'm Steve from Mac84. Hello. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Steve from Mac84. All right, let's. I was going to say let's try to keep this to 30 minutes because I know people are busy this morning. There's other streams going on. I don't want to crash into those too much. I don't want to draw away viewership. People can watch this whenever, but this is probably the best time for me to record this. So I just figured we'd take care of it. All right. The big news, and I'm going to bring it up here on the left, is that there was an announcement today about the future of VCF Midwest, which we three, I figure, are the perfect people to kind of talk about this. We are not affiliated directly with the event. We are friendly with the organizers and things like that. So I want to keep our conversation positive because they are going through some growing pains and things like that. And I love the event. I love the people that run it. So I don't want to be good cop, bad cop or anything. I want to build these folks up. And I think everybody else here wants to do the same. But there was some stuff that kind of happened last year. It was big. They've kind of grown so much that there's just has to be some changes. So I wanted to just very quickly read through this announcement, and then I figured we'd kind of offer some thoughts because again, we're kind of the perfect group of people to talk about this because we've been exhibitors, we have done panels, we've done sales at this event in years past, and we've stayed on site. So I figure we've checked all the boxes for people that are maybe qualified to chime in on this conversation. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And
Sure.
we've also shoved all the stuff from the free pile into our suitcase.
Yeah. We've driven there as well as flown there too.
Yep.
Yeah, that is true. So we've a couple of different ways. Oh yeah, everything's broken garages in chat saying yeah, it's 1:30 there. That's what you get for being in Newfoundland. You got those half time zones. But all right, so let's get through so we can get to the conversation. But okay, 2024, the year of more tables, more hotel rooms, more parking, more and cleaner power, more food options, and more room to walk are all things we'd like to bring you, VCF Midwest fans, at this year's VCF Midwest. But the deal isn't done yet, and for now, we must hold our cards tight to our chest. But here's what we can share: we've parted ways for now with the Waterford Clarion Inn. They've been absolutely essential to our success since 2019, and we owe them everything. But we have simply outgrown the venue. So stop calling them, trying to book early.
I mean, there's nothing preventing you from staying there for a nice weekend, but
yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, stay there, but don't expect VCF to be there. So, here's what we can share though. Parted ways with the venue. We're still targeting the same weekend, which means that you can pencil in September 7th and 8th, 2024 for this year's show, or go ahead and use a pen because we're pretty sure we're going to use those dates. Admission is still going to be free. Tables will no longer be free. So are you in doubt? Are you unsure about attending this year's event? Thinking of skipping this one? Or maybe you've never been to a VCF and you're ready to make the commitment. Well, this is not the year for waffling. Clearly, it's a pancakes year. If our ethereal plans form solid matter and we pull this thing off, this will be the year not to miss the event. This is the year that we shoot for the moon and either fall back to Earth or just land on the moon, I guess. What else could you do up there? But seriously, this is going to be big. We do. Do you remember when we moved from the Heron Point to the Holiday Inn and then from the Holiday Inn to the Waterford? It's like that, but even bigger. We're just not telling you yet, but soon. So the email goes in and also talks about if you're interested in volunteering for the event, which again, you can never have too many hands at an event like this, especially on the first year in a new venue. So if you have the email and you live local, or even if you're going to be traveling and you've got a few extra days on either side of your event, please consider volunteering. And then don't forget that the Chicago Classic Computing is a nonprofit that helps sponsor the event and everything. They have a donation link and stuff there as well. Okay, so that's the big information. What I wanted to talk to you guys about, or what your thoughts are on the sort of what they have announced so far, and then see where we go from there.
Cool.
Steve.
Yeah, so I think this is great. I mean, it all sounds extremely positive. I'm very excited to see what venue they choose. Obviously, not going to speculate about that, but it sounds like they have some big plans. So I'm excited for that. That they're excited for it. This has been for me the largest event that I've gone to in decades that was vintage computer related. You know, it really reminds me of the shows that I used to go to, like when I was in high school. So super excited that they're going to continue with this, that they're making it bigger and better, and that they're sort of announcing these things up front, you know, when they can. Obviously, you know, as they said, you know, things are still in the works, but it's exciting to hear that admission will still be free, that they're targeting around the same date. And I think the change to the tables being for presumably a small fee, it just makes sense. You know, you have people selling stuff and things there. So, you know, if it's in line with previous VCF events, I have no problem with that. I think it'll be great.
Yeah. Eric.
Pretty much the same as what Steve's saying. I think all of us have been suggesting, hey, you should charge for tables. Look, it's a revenue source that, as long as you keep it reasonable, people will be happy to hand over that money. So, and I like the fact that admission is still free, because the excitement of that event is the thousands of people that show up. Right. So we want that traffic. And by the same token, the fact that they say they're going to have more walking room, that's a plus, because it is pretty tight at the the Waterford Clarion. So I think it's all value added. It's all plus win-win, however you want to look at it.
Right.
Not really concerned about anything, because I think that the people managing this event have their stuff together. You know, they know what they need to do. They did a great job of squeezing everything they could out of the last venue last year. So I'm looking forward to scheduling for another presentation if they'll have me.
Oh yeah.
I consider getting a table myself, you know, for next year, so that I don't have to squeeze Ron out of his space. And you know, I'm really looking forward to doing more. So I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. The Waterford Inn, I like the venue. It's got like a great retro feel. It is what it is. It was probably chosen just because it was inexpensive, met power needs for the time, and was just sort of like, hey, like we've got this whole wing of the building that we can leverage for our event, and we've got like clean and affordable rooms and stuff, because it doesn't do you a lot of good to have a venue that's got $400 a night rooms, because that's out of a lot of people's price range, especially if the idea is, I want to pick somewhere that people can stay, but it's not sapping all their resources. They're going to have money to come and spend with vendors. They're going to have money to actually make this a vacation, and not like, I desperately want to go to the event, but I'm eating bologna sandwiches every day. And as someone who grew up like that, I really appreciate the fact that being frugal is baked into kind of this event. But so I'll be really excited to see where they pick. I hope that wherever it is, it's a similar sort of situation where you've got your dedicated kind of conference room space on one side, and then you've got like an area where people can kind of hang out, and people that stay on site can kind of like relax and then kind of retire to your rooms whenever you're done. So I think Waterford was really, really great for that. So I'm excited to see whatever that next step is. Um, I'm glad that they've picked that same weekend, especially for people that work in education or parents that have school age kids, because it's you're back to school, things are kind of settled down a little bit, so now you can go ahead and actually make it out to you can start planning trips and things like that.
Right.
It's especially in houses with younger kids, that's kind of a tough thing when you get back to school. So I do like that admission is going to continue to be free. I would not have an issue with, even if you charged $1, even if you're just covering the cost of the name tags and a sticker or something like that, or just a suggested donation at the door. That's more of a heavy-handed, like, the suggested donation is $5, sir. Ching, ching, ching. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think there's enough people walking in the door that's not a burden. Tables no longer being free. I've been saying this for years. I think anybody that is there to sell, anybody that is there to exhibit, you might have two separate prices on something like that, an exhibitor fee versus somebody that's actually doing sales. You might have two separate fees for that. I don't know, but I think that gives people skin in the game. There's a lot of people that signed up this year for there to be an empty table until Sunday morning. It was like, I was like, well, I mean, I guess if that's when you can get there and things happen, something happen at work, something happen in health, whatever. You can't show up until Sunday to put your stuff out there. But that meant an empty table for 2 days of the show, where people were scrabbling to get space for exhibits and space for sales and things like that. So I think by having some sort of paid, like, skin of the game, you've paid to be there, maybe there's more incentive. You write something in where it's like, if you don't keep your table by such a time, that it can be like repurposed for someone else or whatever. I don't know. I'm not in charge of the event, but I do like the fact that it's not just one person can come in, request 4 tables, and then not show up.
Right.
And it's blocked other people from attending.
But Ron, my single spool of wire, which I have not sold the previous 3 events, is going to be there. And I might sell it if I'm at the table for 1% of the time I'm there.
Listen, I understand that your business is called Steve's Wire. If you sell Steve's Wire, it won't be Steve's Wire anymore.
That's the problem.
That's why you advertise in the Yellow Pages.
How am I going to sell Eric's wire clippers if I'm not next to Steve?
Oh my gosh, I forgot about those, like those kind of the strategic partnerships of all this.
I do like everything that they've just listed, that they're having more hotel rooms. There's going to be more parking space, because these are all growing pains that we've experienced, because we've not only gone last year, but the year before. I think last year was really like, it was bursting at the seams. We all felt that. And so, like, more parking, great. More hotel rooms, great. More food options, great, because you could only have so much in the little cafe that they had on site. And for people with dietary restrictions or needs, it's like, well, I'm just going to bring in my food. I can't support them because there's not a feasible way for me to do that. So that's all great, and I'm really just excited that they seem to have been taking all the feedback from a billion nerds shouting at them, filtered them into things that they could make a positive change for this event. So I'm super excited for it.
Oh yeah. Well, what about I kind of have like a small to-do list of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So what do you guys think about like a wish list? So as they're considering venues, as they're considering these small changes to the event, what would you like to see next year?
I think the one thing that keeps coming back to me when I think about what could be improved, and I'm not even saying how to do it, because that's like a whole other thing, but I think what I really enjoyed last year, and it felt like it went by in 5 minutes, but after the event on Saturday, I believe it was, there was a time where exhibitors and vendors were allowed to go back into the setup, into the rooms, the ballrooms that they had, and just hang out with other creators and exhibitors and just talk and just mingle without the pressure of a torrent of people wanting your signature or your photo, or just to talk to you. I can't even imagine how the popular folks who are being swarmed all day. And it was just such a nice little slice of heaven to be like, oh wow, it's Eric, or it's Adrian, or it's Clint, or it's Ken, and just like chatting with them or playing with their system and just like, or doing maintenance or whatever. And that was so great. That was so awesome. It would, didn't have like an after party feeling, but it was sort of like just a low key vibe, just a nice mingling. So I don't know if there's a way whether they have, again, a way to let us back into that area, and obviously check that you're a vendor or an exhibitor or whatever, or a different space or a room or something like that. I think just any way to facilitate that would just be the icing on the cake. But because I think that we come there to exhibit or to be vendors and obviously to mingle with everybody. And I think that if there's a way to facilitate that sort of as like a relaxing moment after, the big day has happened or before, I think that would be great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Eric,
like having a lounge area or something like that. I mean, we took advantage of the small lounge that was there, but on Saturday night, but it was rather tiny.
Mm-hmm.
So there, it would be nice if they had, like you said, either into the venue and have more chairs available, perhaps, because that was a premium thing, was a chair. And it sounds like that might be feasible with the new venue. What else? Yeah, totally agree that having access to the space for a longer period of time where they didn't feel like they needed to kick us out, because it is an imposition on them. It's like, it's been the longest day. The day needs to be over because we got to go to sleep and then come back and, all that kind of stuff. Maybe if they have more hotel rooms, they'll be able to have their support staff stay there, which might lend to it. I don't know if they did that with the old venue or not, but maybe they'll be encouraged to do that because they're not taking up space that people want.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other things that I thought is that if I go to a con or something, there's usually continuous presentations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just from, this hour to this hour in the evening on Saturday. It's all day during the event. There are presentations. So perhaps if they have more space for presentations and they could have, oh, gee, now I've got the problem. I have to choose. Do I want to go to this one or this one?
Yeah, I can see that, where it's less of a where it's like I want to do everything. I want to do everything in an event that I can't do everything.
Right.
But what I was going to say is that my wish list is for a better grouping of stuff, because you do have one room that is kind of big iron, that is like mainframe, mini computer, stuff like that, PDP-11, all that type of stuff kind of exists in one room. But everything else is kind of like always been a hodgepodge, where there are a few things that defy organization. It'll be a table, and I'll shout out to my friend Alan, who had a really nice table because he had like some Alienware stuff on it, but then he also had some console stuff. So it's sort of a mixed bag of what was there, but it was kind of stuck right in the middle of some other stuff that didn't, like, it was like, oh, this table right here, all Tandy. And so it was like, it's kind of like disjoining, where it's like where was the Tandy guy, or where was the guy that had like the cool Alienware setup? It's like, now I got to walk through the whole floor again to kind of find those folks. Whereas if you had better grouping or better kind of the organization of those things, where it's like, oh, right here is like all the Tandy stuff, and over here is like all the Sun Microsystem stuff and all that. And then we had a Macintosh shenanigans zone that we were part of that had like, I love Nicholas, but he brought like all like Altair stuff and all that, and it just kind of like, it was just like, it was a very kind of just a right in the middle of those other things. So Nicholas,
that was his chair though when he wasn't using it. So
yeah. But it's like Nicholas, you should have brought your Macs, but whatever you're gonna do. But it still would have been nice to just been like, oh, here's a dedicated kind of area, and we did mostly kind of have that, where it was contiguous, like all Apple stuff, all Macintosh things and all that. So I'd like to see more of a lockdown on that.
Mm.
And then the other thing I want to see is a dedicated space for guests, because it's fine that you've got Clint and you've got Texelec and you've got oh my gosh,
Right.
Crazy Ken and folks there doing that thing kind of in the back of the room. But what that does is it makes it to where you now have lines that
Mhm.
wrap around in front of people's tables where they're selling things, or wraps around in front of tables where people are trying to demonstrate things. And you end up with a snarl
Yeah.
that stops
Yeah.
people from being able to see those exhibits. When you go to a Comic-Con, when you go to some of these things, like if you've got like your big name talent, not me sitting there signing headshots, but like your people from the Fireflies and the Babylon Fiveses, they've got them in a little room, and you go to that little room and they've got their stuff set up and you just kind of go in there. It's an appointment. You go in there, you do your thing, you've got like 5-10 minutes, and then they get
Yeah.
you out the door. Something like that might be good for these events. I think that the draw, these names are big enough that you could do that. I don't know that it is like that they would have continual like people out the door all day, but based on the last couple years, they would. I mean, there were people that would, like, every minute the show was open, there were people that wanted to get back there and talk to Clint. There were people that wanted to get back there and talk to Ken. So much so that they had to have other people go out and do their B-roll and
Yeah.
do all their stuff because they had no time to break away to go do this thing. So I'd really
Yeah.
like to see, um, like sort of a dedicated space just for the names that is like off to the side of where people are doing exhibits and doing sales and stuff, just to kind of separate those spaces. That's my only thing.
Yeah. Maybe
I'll need my own
arrange it,
room, of course.
Yeah.
arrange it so that there's a pathway for a queue
Yeah.
that doesn't
Mhm.
block, you know.
Yeah. All you need is pipe and rope.
Yeah.
It's you've been to Disney. Now you've been to like 8-bit guy.
I'm sorry. The line to see Ron is 7 hours. You'll have to come back later.
Yeah, right. Should have used Fast Pass.
Ron pass.
Can we do the baby swap?
Yeah, I was gonna say you could have done a single rider, but I think that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I think that some type of organization, whether it's limited hours of like chat and signature time or whatever, give the guys a break for lunch, obviously.
Absolutely.
I think that some type of organization of the website was great. I loved the Palm PDA style on the mobile app or
Yeah.
whatever that they had, the little website. But I think as the show grows, it might be great. I mean, there's a lot of these free ones you could do, or they're sponsored or someone, but some sort of app where you could, or a directory where you could do a search and find like, okay, whose table is doing what? What are they doing? Are they an exhibitor? Are they a seller? And a way to contact them. Because there's so many times at these events where it's like, oh, there was that guy with that thing. He stepped away from the table, but I have money to give him, or
Yeah.
I have to give him back this thing. And Discord is great, but it's also a huge chat room where it's very overwhelming.
Get lost in the
Yeah.
So if there's like a way to contact someone via phone or email or something like that, or some type of relay or whatever, I think that would be great, just as like a way for exhibitors to keep up with vendors and exhibitors. I've seen those apps where there's like an exhibitor sign in, so you could find their contact information and the public can't just spam these people.
Right.
So something like that. It doesn't have to be too heavy, but I think something lightweight just to help, like with a map or a directory, or just like hours or information about like, hey, where to get food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they took Ron's suggestion and kind of zoned things a little better, then they could have an event map where it's like, oh, I want to go see the Amigas. I go here, or at least which room.
Not everything has to be storybook land at Disney. It's where it's just sort of like, I don't know, put Snow White right next to Mr. Toad. These kids won't know the difference of kids.
Well, I think that obviously, like grouping things loosely is I think fine. What I think encourages just people wandering around and seeing what's new is like, yeah, you may have a Macintosh next to an Atari exhibit or Amiga or whatever. I think like home computers and business stuff and big iron, like I think loose groupings may work better because also plans change, life happens.
Yeah.
My beautiful Macintosh exploded before I was bringing it, so now I have this IBM to bring.
Sure. It's true.
Well, and there is something to be said for wandering around and discovering stuff. Like I don't know what was it? I forget who it is who had teletype terminals and things like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to get to it or didn't discover it until almost the end of the show, and it was down. And I'm like, oh, I wish I'd seen this earlier.
Yeah.
And
that does happen. There's people that will bring things and it'll work on Friday, but by Saturday it's dead. Power supply died or some other technical issue. So
what I think was really great last year was the bulletin board they had set up because people who either couldn't get a table or had something they needed fixed or they wanted to sell or just general information of like, hey, this is going on at this time. We're going to demo this at this time. I found out about the bulletin board way too late, but it was great. So, I mean, either keep that or you could duplicate it or mimic it on electronic means. I thought that was fantastic. So it was a way to share information about the event and you could just, find it there.
Very cool. All right. We hit on, like I said, guests, and then Eric was talking about guests for a second, and then Steve kind of mentioned guests. Since I guess Dave Murray, the 8-bit guy, has said that he's going to reduce the number of shows that he's going to do in 2024. And Clint has said that he's probably going to take the year off from VCF Midwest and a couple of these other shows just to kind of focus on other things. Why don't we all name a guest that you would like to see? And it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody with 1 million subscribers. It could be somebody that and it could be like, hey, they're going to be there for autographs, or it could be like, hey, I just want to see them on a panel because I want them to have more exposure or something. So why don't we go through and we'll just maybe name a person or two? Why don't you go first, Eric?
There's so many great YouTubers that they're in that kind of middle tier. They're not quite at the epitome of it. I'd like to see more of them because I want to hear about the struggle that they're going through. Because I'm a tiny YouTube channel, and you do get a lot of good information from YouTubers that have 1 million viewers and stuff, but you don't hear so much from the guys that I finally broke 1,000 or 5,000 or whatever. I'm trying to think of somebody off the top of my head, and I can't. That's in that group. But
we'll circle back.
Yeah.
Circle back.
Yeah. So think about it. So Steve, who do you got?
Yeah, so I have first who comes to mind is Dan, Canadian computer collector. So if he could cross the border and come on over, we've been teasing him for years to join us. But I would love to see him either on a panel or just set up some of the crazy things that he's built with his brother on the channel. I think that would be excellent. He's just one of those creators where you could just envision them at one of these events, like having a blast. So I would love to see that.
Absolutely. I would say, if I could pick, I'm gonna pick my two, and I think that these are people that need more, maybe a dedicated space than what they have either had in years past or moving forward as they kind of grow their brand, that they might need a space. And I would say that based on the number of people, now I think Sean Action Retro would have had a lot more people at his table, but he was out doing things. He was very, very active, kind of doing other stuff. But the number of people that came by and said, hey, have you seen Action Retro? And I'm like, I watch his channel all the time. They were tired of that joke by Saturday at noon. So it would be great to have more of a dedicated space for like Sean, where he could kind of like, it's like, hey, you're in that YouTuber section, because if nothing else, if people haven't heard of all the stuff, because it's not just, he does a lot of Mac stuff on his channel, but he also does like PC stuff and like these industrial computers. And he's got like one of those, I don't know, like he had it at East last year. It's one of those crazy old, looks like it's made out of wood computers. I don't even remember what they're called.
Yeah, the soul or something.
Yeah, that's
Ball.
it. So he does like a lot of other stuff on his channel that I think has broader interest, but maybe not everybody knows that. So I think he would benefit well by being kind of in that section. So if nothing else, I mean, he's got like 100,000 plus subscribers on his channel. Like, I mean, people know who Sean is. That would be great for him. And then I think the other person that absolutely needs some dedicated space, and it seemed to work out pretty well for her at uh, Southwest. Was it Southwest? I think like that's the one in
Or
the
West.
Dallas
West
Fort
or
Oh,
Southwest.
oh,
Nah, Dallas Fort Worth area. So was
that's
Kate,
right.
the Macintosh librarian. I think that
Yep.
there's a lot of people that would love to come and talk to her about like not just what she's doing on the channel, but kind of like how she's doing it on the channel, like with all the digital puppetry and things like that. And that's very unique in our community. Um, it's kind of a one of a kind show right now. So I think that like she would really benefit by that as well. So
Yeah.
she's never been to Midwest. I really hope that she considers going to Midwest this year. I know that she's got limited vacation and all that type of stuff, just like everybody else. So, but I hope that she makes the time investment to come. But those are my two.
Yeah. I was actually going to mention Action Retro because I'm going through my subscriber list right
Oh
now.
yeah.
But you know, Retro Tech or Die
Mhm.
kind of fits into that group where he's got
Yeah.
2,000,
Mhm.
2,500 subscribers.
Yeah.
And he's got a broad amount of stuff that he covers. It's not
Mhm.
just, I mean, he's got all that diving experience from being I think he was a submarine, you know,
Yeah, he was in the military. He was in the Navy.
and
Yeah.
was on a sub, and he's a diver. And I recently watched one of his dive video discussions because he was going to talk about devices used for diving.
Mhm.
It's the farthest from my interest area, but it was still interesting to hear about it because there's a lot of science that goes into it, and that's
Mhm.
something I enjoy.
Yeah.
So definitely him. Retrotech Chris
Mhm.
is another person he's like at that tier.
Mhm.
I think also the shows where it's multiple guests on the show, like you know, the Retrotech Roundup,
Mhm.
for example, or some of the others that, you know, you could do small panels for them.
Mhm. Yeah. Do like a live version of your show or things like that. I mean, and you
Exactly.
could
Oh,
and you
that's
could and you
yeah.
could be doing those things in like the like and that would be like, hey, we've got our room for our special guest kind of stuff,
Mhm.
and we've got a dedicated panel thing all the time for those guys that they can just hop in there, live stream, do whatever it is they want to do,
Yeah.
promote the event, promote whatever it is they're working on, and then just hop down and then it's kind of anybody can use that space that's kind of part of that little club or something.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be good. You know, if you've got room for more uh, presentations and panels,
Mhm.
then you could have one that's going on at the same time a larger thing's going on, and share that space. So yeah, that's a great idea. You could schedule half-hour shows. That way
Mhm.
people aren't stepping on each other.
Yeah, something like that. That'd be pretty cool. All right. Well, I said we'd try to keep this to 30 minutes, but did anybody else have anything that they wanted to contribute in terms of just not like the speculative sort of stuff, but just
Mm.
sort of like to the bones of what the email was about?
Just super excited for it and so happy that they are, obviously listening and trying to make this event the best ever because I
Mhm.
have so much fun at these shows and I hope they do plenty more of them.
As do I.
Yeah, you know, this is the only vintage computer show I've gone to. I mean, I've gone to computer shows that would be considered vintage now because they happened so long ago.
Mhm.
But and this is the main event. I'm fortunate that I live within 5 hours driving distance of it, so I
Mhm.
can go to it. Um, I'd really love to be able to go to some of the other ones too, but I think again, I'm fortunate this is the big event. This has got the most traffic, and if you're
Mhm.
into meeting people that you've never met before, and you know, kind of rubbing shoulders with some YouTubers that might be a little bit higher than you, it's a
Mhm.
great event for that.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, I wanted to thank you both for taking time out of your Sunday. I know that I was like, "Ooh, the email dropped." And I was like, "Ah," like, you got to strike while the iron's hot. So I just figured that this would be a good conversation. You guys would be the perfect people to talk to, because we've done panels together, we've shared tables together, we murdered that hobo together.
They tried to murder you first.
Yeah, that's true. Self-defense. If anybody from the FBI is
And
watching,
it was a robotic hobo. So
that's right. It was a robo.
Got a great bottle of sparkling muscatel, though.
Yeah.
But if before Ron ends this, if you have not visited Midwest before, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube that I've done, that Eric's done. Yep. But Ron last year was like a bumblebee buzzing around doing all these little videos and behind the scenes things. So search Ron's channel for VCF Midwest content. You'll find a bunch of it. Gives you an idea of what the event is like and probably what it will be like in the future.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, you can go over and get more information about the event itself at VCF Midwest or VCFMW.org. You can also sign up for their mailing list, so that way that you'll get updates about all these things that are happening. You can also check out pictures from past events. You can see previous exhibitors and get maybe a feel for the flavor of things. I think they also have a playlist out there. So like Steve was saying, that there's a ton of people that have basically made walkthrough videos and done interviews with people and things like that. And so a lot of really, really great content. I would check it all out. So who the heck are you guys again, Eric?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I'm Sean of Action Retro.
Yeah. If anybody asks, I'm Clint Bassinger of the lazy game reviews.
I'm getting pretty good with Sean's signatures, though.
Oh,
my secret identity is Mackie.
Yeah, I wondered why you were always trying to jam yourself in little tiny boxes.
Well, thank you, Ron. I'm Steve from Mac84, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Again, we'll maybe be back to you in the future as there's additional information. Depends on what type of interest people have in commentary about kind of what's going on about that. So again, thank you so much, especially to my guests here, Eric from Eric's Edge and Steve from Mac84. Thanks for taking time out of your Sunday. I want to thank everybody who hung out in the chat while we were talking. Savvy Sage, Everything's Broken Garage, Kate the Macintosh Librarian. This hobby and this little whole thing we're doing wouldn't be possible without you. So anyway, all right, I'm going to hit end stream. It was good to see everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Oh my gosh.